The Nigerian Air Force said Al-Qaeda-affiliated extremist groups were exploiting weak governance structures to expand their influence in Nigeria, West Africa, and the Sahel region. NAF also stated that porous borders in the Lake Chad Basin had allowed the extremist elements to sustain their activities, posing a persistent threat to national security and regional stability. The federal government, which also identified porous borders, added that ungoverned spaces also constitute major factors exacerbating terrorism and other emerging insecurity or other security threats in the West African region and the Sahel. Speaking at the first quarter meeting with branch chiefs, air officers commanding and commandants at NAF headquarters in Abuja, Chief of Air Staff, Air Marshal Hasan Abubakar, called for the implementation of a comprehensive counter-unmanned aerial vehicle system to safeguard troops and air assets. Now to discuss this, we're joined by security analyst and Executive Director, Elixir Trust Foundation, Emmanuel Ikule. Mr. Ikule, you're welcome. Thank you very much for joining us this afternoon.
Thank you very much for having me.
Now, Mr. Ikule, how do weak governance structures in Nigeria contribute to the operational effectiveness of Al-Qaeda-linked groups within the region?
There's a saying that insanity is doing one thing over and over again and expecting different results. Saying that our borders are ungoverned or our borders are porous, or saying that weak leadership or governance is affecting or trying to exacerbate the works of a terrorist group, it's not a new thing. And it's the same thing we have been hearing over and over. If you already know that borders are porous, what have you done to fix it? If already you know that we have weak leaders that are failing to also carry out their mandate, what is the work of oversight of the houses of assembly and all that at different levels and different sectors? What is the work of oversight? And if you are failing to do this, then it's not too good every time. It's like most military, you rarely find most military leadership being online consistently like ours. We speak more online than the intervention that they should be carrying out in the field. So the weak leadership for me starts first from even the armed forces themselves. If they really want to fix this, then they should reduce being online and reduce talking to the media and try to fix the problem, because this very news and this very thing they are reporting, they have always been saying it over the years. Why have they not addressed it? The first way of fixing a problem is identifying the problem first and then the solution to it. If you have known the problem all this while, what have you been doing to fix it? People are dying, lives are being lost, and these persons are getting more grants.
Emmanuel,
so for me, yes, weak leadership, but it's also not just from governors, even themselves, they also have weak leadership.
Now, Emmanuel, the Air Force is attributing poor governance and also porous borders to the situation there. Exactly how does poor governance and also the porous borders that they speak of, because when it comes to the Air Force, you wouldn't think that porous borders would be a thing. But how is this affecting the vulnerability in this situation here?
Everything boils back to political will, and almost everything revolves around political leadership. So if our borders have been porous and have been unmanned and ungoverned for a long period of time, what is stopping those in leadership or the federal government or our current president, President Tinubu, from ordering the military to leave the works of police that they have been doing within the country to go back to those borders? What has stopped them to move even other policing, the Air Force, the military, to move them all to the borders to ensure that those borders are secure? What is also stopping? There are some places some countries that you don't really see military. They are just maybe across maybe 4 corners of the country, but they have planted certain ammunition and drones and all that in certain places in such a way that if you enter without permission, there are explosives being planted in such areas that you cannot just enter like that. What is stopping us from doing same things we have been going on peacekeeping, we have been going on intervention, we have been going on training courses and UN interventions and see how things are being done. It's stopping them from bringing the good news and bringing those good initiatives back to us for it to help us. So the political will, it's those in leadership directing that this should be done. That is the first one. And then those around, knowing that the borders are porous or are not being built, what is also stopping from giving directive that it should be built? Then, in the absence of the political will directing that it should be built, and then they also, their leadership or the service chief failing to also plant ammunitions or plant these bombs or explosives that prevent people from just entering the way they want. What is stopping them from doing that? And if both the political will and then they also from them, their own leadership from the service chief is also failing, it's not just the work of one side, it's a group thing. And those at the local level have limits or nothing that they can do. If those service chiefs that have the authority to carry out operations, we have been having different names, operation this, operation that. This operation have been existing for years in certain locations. What are the achievements?
Emmanuel, how do Al-Qaeda groups exploit these poor governance gaps to gain control over certain territories in Nigeria, like we've been hearing? What role does the NAF play in counteracting this? Okay, so if you look at the situation, governance situation in our country, many of the local governments, from the leadership, some governors, even some local government chairmen, they are not in their states. Most of them are living here, they are living in Abuja. So whatever happens at the rural areas, they don't know. And most times they are more concerned about budgetary allocations and what comes to them, and what will be their cut from the monies they are being accrued to the states. So when there are laws, and sometimes you find the houses of assembly also not paying attention to these little things. If the local government chairman they are resident in their states and governors are resident in their states, also the security officers with them are also resident, it increases the number of security personnel in those particular locations. And they also, because they want to be alive, they'll also be knowledgeable about the security concerns in those particular areas. But most times they leave those areas. And when they come time for campaign, you see them going to those rural areas to campaign. After campaign, they leave such areas. They may never go to those places again until after 8 years. So what happens is this: when you are not going to those places, you have voted another person, and you have left those places. Security agent, terrorists also will come and test themselves, will come for the first time and do something. Once they see that they are not being checked, or they are not forces on ground to address them or to counter them, they'll come again with a bigger and higher ammunition. So once they scale through that means, they'll continue like that to get more grounds. And gradually, this is how, before now, certain countries were even overthrown, because gradually they take control of local governments, they take control of the state, they take control of the zone, and gradually they take control of the city. This is how it starts. But the issue is the laxity. It's not just from the president, it's also from the service chiefs, and even those are the rural areas governing those places, like the chairman, local government chairman, like the state governors, because they have budgetary allocations in billions. And if they cannot use a little of that to secure lives or ensure that people are safe, then the problem is it's with them. Okay, then, Emmanuel.
Terrorist groups are benefiting from this, and they will continue to find way to get more grounds for themselves.
Well, Emmanuel, I want to say thank you very much for joining us to give us your expert view and opinion on the matter. Thank you indeed.